Nicole, show starting.
Sorry, I was just looking at how busted my March Madness bracket is. I'm sorry, guys. Hi everyone and welcome to Sports Scene. I'm Nicole Shearin here with Lauren Stout and Michael Fumifredo. Spring has sprung and basketball season is behind us. The Trojans kicked off spring practice last week under the helm of new head coach Lincoln Riley. USC added 13 transfers since the last time they took the field. Lincoln Riley on the shape of his roster.
I don't know, to flip it around, I don't know that there's any position that we would say, nah, we wouldn't take another guy there. It's just, and we've got some talented rooms. I mean, we've got some rooms that can be good players, but to be a championship group, you've got to have some really good players across the board. You got to have quality depth. You got to have quality competition. You got to be able to rotate some guys and the quality on the field not go down.
All right, so spring practice is here. What is the importance of spring practice for a team like USC that is essentially an entire new squad with a new head coach?
Well, you said it best. It's a completely new squad. We already mentioned the 13 transfers. Number one class in the transfer portal, by the way. You also have 6 new freshmen coming in. So it's going to take these guys, even the new guys that are still here, a while to learn this offense and the defense. But we need to figure out who's going to play where, what role everyone's going to have on this new look team. And I'm just excited for the spring game to come in April 23rd.
The most interesting thing going into the season is going to be how Caleb Williams leads this team. Because Caleb is one of the few people that actually have experience in Lincoln Riley's offense. The way Caleb and Mario, who also has experience, lead this team is going to really determine how far they can go in year one.
I think what's really key too is the whole thing of building chemistry right now for this team. It's an entire new squad, 13 new transfer additions. This is the time for this team to really build that chemistry together. Caleb Williams and Mario, they've played together already, but it takes an entire team to perform. So that is key right now for this squad. But another area that I think is super interesting is the wide receivers room. They have 4 guys that Lincoln Riley has gotten from the transfer portal. There's a lot of competition there, and Brendan Rice, one of the wide receivers from Colorado, had a lot to say about that.
Wide receiver group, we're battling every single day. Everybody has that edge. Everybody wants to be that next guy here. Everybody wants to be that next Drake London or Juju. So you see guys going head to head, and at the end of the day, we all dabbing up each other. We all hoping for each other to make the next big play, and that's all that matters. It's a brotherhood. I can't wait. I just can't wait to be out here, y'all.
So I was at practice yesterday, and one of the things Lincoln Riley said is that he plans on using 8 receivers per game. That's a lot per game for this team. But like I said, there's a lot of competition. So how do you see this all shaking down in that wide receivers room?
I think 8 is a lot to expect to use in a game. I don't know that they have 8 guys that are at that level right now, but I think they have a lot of talent. Gary Bryant Jr., Brendan Rice, Mario Williams, Terrell Bynum, those guys are really great players, and I think the wide receiver room right now is the most talented group on the USC field.
It always is, isn't it? I mean, we always talk about these USC
Exactly.
wide receiver rooms. Without Drake London, without Amon-Ra St. Brown, without Michael Pittman, this is still a stacked room. You already mentioned some guys, and Gary Bryant, someone I wanted to mention, really made a leap last year, having the same amount of touchdowns as he did receptions his freshman year. But you also bring in Mario Williams, the only guy, like you said, with chemistry with Caleb Williams already. I'm interested to see what they do, and 8 receivers doesn't seem that crazy for them. We've just rattled off about 5 or 6 names without even mentioning Todd Washington or incoming freshman CJ Williams, who comes over from Mater Dei. So it's not that crazy to think about. Like, all these guys are going to play. It's just going to be interesting to see what roles they each fill. Who's in the slot, who's the X, who's the red zone guy. Going to be fun.
I also really think this competition fuels these players to perform every day. I mean, think about it. If that was you guys on the field, it would make me want to be a better player.
It's a competition.
Exactly. And Terrell Bynum from Washington touched on just that at practice yesterday. And he really honed in on this USC air raid offense and how that makes him perform as a receiver. So this is what he had to say.
It's really like, they don't like to call it an air raid, but it has some air raid properties to it. So it's really receiver friendly. They've had a lot of success with a lot of receivers and quarterbacks, so it's exciting.
So obviously with a new team essentially and a new head coach, there are a lot of storylines being written for this team this upcoming season. So what do you guys think is the top storyline?
I think the biggest storyline for them is going to be their defensive line. That and their linebackers were two of their biggest areas of concern last year, and they're trying to make strides. They're going to need Corey Foreman, who was a really high-ranked recruit, talented freshman last year. He didn't make enough of an impact. He's going to have to make a bigger impact, and the real name to watch is going to be Tuli Tuipilota, who defensive line coach Sean Nua said reminded him of Agent Hutchinson, who's the presumed #1 pick in this upcoming draft. That's really high praise coming from his coach, and if he lives up to that, then USC is going to have one of the best defensive linemen in the country.
Great pronunciation on Tuli's. I thought my last name was hard, but that's an interesting one. I also think the biggest storyline is on this defense, but I'm going to have to go with the secondary. Losing a lot of talent that has been around for a while. You talk about Isaac Taylor-Stewart, Isaiah Polomal, Chris Steele, all gone, maybe going to the NFL. Who's going to be the new guy that steps up? We've talked a lot about Kalen Bullock, who played last year really well, but the only knock on him is he's still 180 pounds at that safety position. I'm interested to see what Damani Jackson brings to the table, true freshman out of Modern Day as well. Is he going to replace these guys as a starter? Is he going to take some time to work his way onto the field? But there's going to be a new look secondary for the team. We also have 2 transfers and 2 freshmen coming in as well, including Zion Branch, who was out of Bishop Gorman, the number 58 recruit in the nation this year. Who's going to be the new starting core for this team for the next 3-4 years?
Constant turnover.
See, I think there are really 2 storylines this season. You have the quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, Miller Moss, 2 of the only scholarship athletes on this team. You have Mo Hassan, but he's injured. They say he's going to be back for the fall. But that's tough when you can't use spring practice to get those reps in before starting that season. So obviously everyone thinks Caleb Williams is going to be the #1 guy. Well, I've heard from a lot of players, Brendan Rice is one of them, they're hyping Miller Moss up. He's showing that leadership. He's playing to his full potential at the moment. So who knows what that competition is going to look like. But I think that's one storyline. Another storyline is we take it over to the offensive line. Yesterday at practice, that was the second time the guys were in pads at practice. One of the main guys on that offensive line is Brett Nealon, and he really honed in on how Coach Henson is letting that offensive line play to their strengths, experiment, in order to really strengthen up that offensive line to perform this season. So this is what Brett had to say about that.
I mean, Coach McGuire was awesome, and you know, he made our line a lot better, and you know, we're still using some of that stuff and just kind of building off of that. And I really like Henson because he's, you know, letting us play kind of off our experience a little bit, and you know, he's not like you have to do it this way or it's wrong.
It's definitely going to be interesting how this new USC squad shapes up on April 23rd for the spring game. But switching to another topic, men's volleyball. They play USC, UCLA. They're playing home at the Galen Center, and then they're going away to UCLA in Westwood. So how do you guys think this shakes down for UCLA?
This is a very interesting matchup. USC is ranked #4, UCLA right behind them at #7, and we were talking about this earlier. There's a coaches poll out there that has UCLA at 1 and USC at 5, so 2 of the top teams really going at it. Whoever wins these games really has a case to maybe push into the top 3 of the rankings for men's volleyball, right behind Long Beach State, Penn State, and Ball State, respectively. This is going to be a big matchup for this weekend. And I think you were saying USC hasn't lost at home yet this season. So maybe they split 1-1. Maybe USC takes both. Maybe UCLA pulls off an upset. We're just going to have to wait and see.
USC is going to have to really rely on libero Cole Paxson. He was last week's Player of the Week for his defensive abilities, and they're going to need him in conjunction with their offense to get going. They have one of the best offenses in the NCAA. They're second in assists and third in kills in the league, and they're going to need that offense to be ready early and often to beat UCLA.
I definitely think this is going to be an interesting matchup because, like you said, it's a top 10 matchup for both of these teams. But I really do think it's time for USC to stay undefeated at home and break that losing streak against the Bruins. So I definitely will be tuning in. I think it'll be an interesting game.
Yep, 2 weeks to go in this spectacular season for the Trojans volleyball team. No one really expected them to be here, but here we are. They might be competing for a championship come April.
Exactly. And guys, what month is it? Just wondering. It's March.
It is
Before you
March.
even answer, it's March. The brackets have been busted and 4 teams remain. It's a battle of the Blue Buds. You have Duke, UNC, Villanova, Kansas. But who takes the top and takes home this trophy for this tournament?
I'm going to have to go with the underdog. I'm going to take Villanova. I know they just lost one of their best players in Justin Moore, but they're a great three-point shooting team. They hit their free throws, something Kansas struggled with against Miami. And I think they're going to outshoot and outscrap Kansas, who is the better team. But I think Villanova is going to pull off the upset to get their third title in the last 7 years for Jay Wright.
Look, it's written in the stars right now. Duke wins. Coach K gets sent off into the sunset with a victory. But no, I'm not just saying this because of the storyline. Duke is playing phenomenal in this tournament, upping their numbers in every shooting category. They're three higher from three-point range, shooting 40%. Their field goal percentage, 6 better than it was in the regular season at 54%. But the free throws, and this is usually the key in March Madness, their free throw percentage is up 14% from 72 to 86 throughout the 4 games they've played this tournament. They're hot right now. They have the biggest incentive to win and the best player, Paolo Banchero. I think it's written in the stars. We're going to get what everyone's been wanting all year.
The bottom line is, guys, the ACC has showed up to dance this tournament. That's all I have to say, okay? Also, let's not forget to mention that this is the first time Duke and UNC are meeting in the Final Four. That's pretty awesome. Like you said, the storyline could not have been written better itself. But what I think is really cool about this is it's the first time for UNC head coach Huguet. It's the last for Coach K. And I hate to go against what you're saying, Michael, but I think it's the farewell tour for Coach K, and it's farewell for the Blue Devils, because UNC is taking this to the top. Here's why. They're peaking at the exact right time. If there's no other time to peak than the tournament, it's now. They figured out how to play together. They've built that chemistry exactly when they needed it. They've switched it up. RJ Davis is now running point guard. Well, then they throw Caleb Love at shooting guard. Caleb Love had 32 against Duke last time they played. Remember when they played them last time, Michael? Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. 23 against Marquette.
What about the second to last time they played them? Lost
Right.
by 20.
Okay, right. Anyways, we'll ignore that one. But 23 against Marquette, 30 against UCLA. So this is a team who has multiple players scoring double digits this entire tournament. Then, in my opinion, the key to this UNC victory is Brady Manick. He's averaging 20 points per game in the last 8 games. So I'm taking this number 8 seed all the way to the top. It's the Heels.
I think unless you're living out inside Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and a sports fan in general, you have to be rooting for Duke. If you're rooting for UNC, are you really a college basketball fan? Come on, it's Coach K.
Are you really a college basketball fan if you're rooting for Duke? Who doesn't want to see Coach K go out with a
Right.
loss?
Come on, Michael.
It's history, I'm just saying. But I think the real enemy of this college basketball season is North Carolina, because they took out everyone's favorite team in the tournament, number 15 seed St. Peter's. How could you root for them now?
See, we all love a Cinderella story, and who's number 8 in this tournament? UNC,
the lowest
and
seed.
that's
True.
why they take the top, and that's why we love March. But you know what, guys? That's going to do it for Sports Scene today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. For Lauren Stowell and Michael Fumanfredo, I'm Nicole Shearin. See you next time.